Just when we thought Afghanistan couldn't get worse, it keeps getting worse. We discussed in a previous episode of Counterculture the people left behind, the Americans stranded, the Afghan allies abandoned, those trying to escape Afghanistan but are stuck because of us. We discussed the 13 Marines killed, and it's right to focus on these things, but the situation is far worse. The United States has become, because of Joe Biden and his administration's actions, the largest sponsor of terror in the world. This seems like a shocking thing to say, so let's dive in. When you think of a terrorist, most of them are ragtag guys. They ride around on donkeys and horses and act like they're from the 7th century. They're medieval, even in their weaponry. But by the United States leaving our advanced weaponry in Afghanistan under Biden's watch, we've equipped these terrorists with the best equipment around. Many developing countries around the world don't have the advanced equipment the Taliban does. So we've equipped the Taliban to be an even stronger force than ever before. What exactly have we given these terrorists? Sophisticated tanks, Humvees, armored vehicles? Congressman Jim Banks, a veteran, lamented, quote, "The Taliban now has more Black Hawk helicopters than 85% of the countries in the world. But it's not just weapons. They have night vision goggles and body armor. The Taliban have at least 22,000 Humvees, 42,000 pickup trucks and SUVs, 162,000 radios, 16,000 night vision goggles, 358,000 assault rifles, 169 armored personnel carriers, 126,000 pistols, 64,000 machine guns, and more. There are an estimated 600,000 assault rifles. 7 brand new helicopters were apparently delivered to Kabul just a month ago. Everything that hasn't been destroyed is the Taliban's now, one U.S. official told Reuters, speaking on the condition of anonymity. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said on Tuesday that the White House, quote, does not have a complete picture of what has fallen into the hands of the Taliban. 24 Republican senators have had enough and have demanded a full account of what has been seized. One of their biggest concerns is the control of aircraft. Anywhere from 200 aircraft is concerning, including Black Hawks. The 25 senators told Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, quote, "It is unconscionable that high-tech military equipment paid for by U.S. taxpayers has fallen into the hands of the Taliban and their terrorist allies." As the Daily Star in the UK reported, this leaves not just the people there, but the West vulnerable to an increase in terrorist attacks. This was so embarrassing to the Biden administration that they actually removed these statistics from their federal websites, as Forbes reports. And who paid for all of this state-of-the-art equipment? Us, the taxpayer. Yes, that's right. We funded this. We thought this funding would advance us, but instead it's only advanced the bad guys. But the issue isn't just the exorbitant amount of money spent in Afghanistan, but the fact that this advanced weaponry is weaponry we freely left behind. We didn't need to leave it there. This is not something Trump would have ever done. So why did Biden do this? Some argue it's all purely his lackadaisical attitude. It's his buffoonery and claim he's the new Jimmy Carter, accidentally wreaking havoc in the Middle East. And while someone might have been able to make that argument about Joe Biden months ago, now that we're further into his presidency, we can see it's so much worse than that. It's impossible to think that this dire result in Afghanistan is purely because he's incompetent. Even this is too extreme, too ridiculous to be incompetence. Why? Because even if Biden were so lost mentally, he is surrounded by advisors. He has Kamala Harris by his side. He has generals. There are countless ways he could have withdrawn the U.S. from Afghanistan without leaving Americans behind and without leaving American equipment behind. Not to mention, if it were pure incompetence, he wouldn't have had much say in how this withdrawal was done, and it likely would have been carried out in a manner typical of any withdrawal, where you get the American citizens out first, you get the military equipment out, the forces are the last to go. But he didn't do this. It takes a concerted effort not to do this. Wasn't it obvious that leaving this American equipment behind was a bad idea? Wasn't it obvious that we should keep that equipment? Not just because we paid for it and it's ours, but because it's incredibly dangerous to allow it to fall into the wrong hands.